Hi, I'm Raquel. Thanks for joining Kanuka Home Practice. Today's class is going to be exploring some gentle binds. You don't really need any props for this short 30-minute slow flow, but as always, if you'd like a blanket to sit on or to soften the knees, you're more than welcome to join that. So we'll be exploring binds. This essentially, in today's practice, is about connecting a body part to another body part, helping us find new ways of moving and readjusting the body. Let's get started. We'll begin today's class in a comfortable seat. You might like to sit on a block or a blanket, removing maybe the flesh away to help you feel a little bit more grounded. And I invite you to find a nice long straight spine lifting up through the crown of the head, softening the shoulders down. Feel free to close down the eyes and begin to arrive right here, right now for your practice. Taking deep inhales and slow exhales. Beginning to find a pace of breath that you can carry throughout today's practice. And on your next exhale, draw the chin down towards the chest. As you inhale, lift up your gaze, feeling a nice stretch through the front of the neck. Exhale, begin to draw that gaze down to the floor, tucking the chin down into the chest. And imagine lifting the back of the head up and raising up with the breath. Returning back to neutral. Exhale, the right ear down. Return to center. Exhale, the left ear down towards the shoulder. And feel free to go as slow as you'd like here as we start to explore a little bit more range of movement. And the next time the ear is down by the shoulder, turn the gaze down. Chin comes down towards the shoulder. And trace the chin across the collarbones to the opposite side. And reverse that movement, circling the chin down and across. And once you get back to the shoulder you began with, you can gently roll the back of the head across the neck, back of the shoulders. I invite you to close down the eyes and move in any direction with the neck that feels good. Just pausing where you'd like to pause. Going with your breath here, truly tuning into the body as we loosen up the top of the spine. When you're ready, coming back towards a neutral line, finding your center, lifting up through the crown of the head again. Place your hands on the knees. We'll do some seated cat-cows. On your next exhale, dome through the back. Draw the chin in towards the neck. Bring the belly button into the spine, drawing the ribs into the belly. Pressing into the palms, you can draw the chest forward, drawing the shoulders away from the ears. Exhale, dome through the back, finding a cat position. And pressing into knees to help you draw the chest forward, coming into a cow position. Starting to find a little bit more movement with the spine. Return to center. Again, find that height with the spine, and we'll go into some twists, drawing the left hand over to the right knee. You can place the right hand behind you, turning for your twist. Gaze can come over the back shoulder. And return back to center. Allow that spine to reset. Bring the opposite hand over to the far knee. Turn for your twist. Gaze coming over the back shoulder here to continue the spinal spiral. And return to center. You can take the legs out wide in front of you or out long in front of you. Again, maybe readjust the flesh underneath the bum, help you feel more grounded, connected to earth. Draw the toes towards the face, find that height with the spine, and begin to fold forward, aiming to keep the sternum lifted and facing forward. So your forward fold might not look as deep, but we're keeping that integrity within the spine. Going into our first bind today, you can take a hold of any part of the leg with the hands. If it's there for you, maybe taking a pistol grip around the big toe, using your first and second fingers to hook around the big toe. If that is not within reach today, feel free to grab your ankles, your shins, even the tops of the legs. Coming back to the breath, maybe with every exhale, you find a little bit more space to forward fold. And one more breath, going where you need to go. You can gently release the bind if you've taken one. Roll the spine up, and we'll meet reclining on the mat. Take a full body stretch, bringing the arms up overhead, legs nice and long, and then bring the arms out into a T. Palms facing forward. Bend the knees, place the soles of the feet down on the ground. Deep breath here. Give yourself a big hug, stacking the right elbow on top of the left elbow. Use a little bit of, use your fingers to sort of creep on back behind the shoulders to tighten the hug here. Placing the left sole of the foot firmly down onto the ground, lift the right knee up and over, crossing the knees. If it's there for you, you can also cross the top of the foot behind the calf, coming into Garudasana, or your eagle legs here. Finding Garudasana with the arms, keeping the elbows stacked, lift up the forearms and hook the palms here. We're going to aim to draw the forearms away from the face here. You can even lift the elbows off the chest. Finding Garudasana, we're going to go for a bit of a crunch, drawing the elbows and knees together, and then expand out, lengthening the legs, arms up overhead, coming in for a second crunch, and expand out, starting to warm up the core here. Last crunch. Hold it here, this Garudasana shape, elbows close to the knees, forearms away from the face, and place the sole of the foot down, arms unwind, finding that T shape with the arms, and unwind the legs here, returning into a constructive rest. We'll take the opposite side, giving yourself a big hug, left elbow on top of the right elbow, scooting the fingers back to help stack those elbows on top of each other. Place the right sole of the foot down, lift the right knee up and over to cross the legs. If it's there for you, you can tuck the top of the left foot underneath the calf to continue the cross of the legs. Garudasana legs now in place. We'll find our Garudasana or eagle arms. Lift up the elbows, lift up the forearms, hook the palms if that's there for you. Lifting the elbows off the chest, forearms away from the face. Raise the legs up. Finding Garudasana. Going to come in for a crunch. Bring the elbows and knees towards each other. And extend. Press the feet away. Elbows lift up and over. Lengthening the body. And then going for your second crunch. And extend out. Lengthening the feet away from the body as the elbows rise up and over. Third crunch. Hold here. Elbows and knees drawing towards each other. Forearms away from the face. And draw the soles of the feet down to the mat. Undo the arms. Find a big wide T. Undo the legs. Come into constructive rest for a moment. Allow the body to rest here for a moment after the full body bind of eagle. You can bring the knees into the chest. Give them a squeeze. Feel free to roll out the back here, massaging any areas that feel good by circling the knees or just swaying back and forth. And when you're ready, cross the ankles. Feel free to rock and roll back and forth as we make our way into tabletop, or simply sit up, swing the legs around, bring the hands underneath the shoulders and knees underneath the hips, finding tabletop. Take a moment to reconnect down to the mat here, just noticing your weight into the palms and fingers, evenly distributing the weight between the hands and the knees. Find that nice long spine, so from the pelvis up through the crown of the head, flattening the back, finding space through the back of the neck. Taking a breath here, going to tuck the toes, come into our first down dog. Generous bend in the knees here is okay as we lengthen up the spine, pressing evenly through the hands, and a tuck, lifting up the tailbone. Feel free to move the legs as we begin to find more length in the hamstrings. Swaying the hips, dropping the heels one at a time. Just taking any movements here that are going to make your down dog more comfortable. Once you've found your shape, begin to find a bit of stillness, drawing the heels down, bringing a sense of evenness between both hands. An option here to find a bit of a bind. So we'll go into a twist. Bring the right hand towards the left leg, opposite leg. Feel free to grab anywhere along the leg here. Might be your ankle, your calf, the top of the thigh. Just aiming to make a connection. And return back to down dog. Reset the body. Placing the right hand firmly on the ground. Bring the left hand to the right ankle or anywhere along the leg. And return back. And that's vinyasa to rinse it out. So shift forward into your high plank. Lifting the chest away from the floor here. Option to lower the knees. Come down through your low plank or chaturanga. Inhale for baby cobra. Light on the hands here. Sternum pointing forward. Tuck the toes. Down dog. All right leg forward in between the hands. Back heel down, find warrior one. Lifting up the arms, hips facing forward. Generous bend in the front knee. Humble warrior, interlace the hands behind you, forming a fist. Draw the fists down, opening up the chest. Arms are rotating outwards, gaze can come up. On your next exhale, hinge at the hips. Draw the right shoulder down towards the right knee. Arms can lift up overhead, or feel free to keep them down by the lower back. Finding a bind with the hands here. Pressing through the front foot, begin to rise on up. Find warrior one again. And open up to warrior two. Right hand forward, left hand back. Front knee over the ankle here, shoulders over the hips. Pressing through the back outer edge of the foot. Going into side angle, bring the right elbow to the top of the thigh, lift the left arm up into the air. If you'd like to take a different variation of side angle, feel free to. We're gonna find our half bind here. So with the top hand, turn the palm away towards the back wall or behind you. And bend the elbow, bring the top of the hand to the lower back. Half bind. Lift that top shoulder open. Gaze can come up towards the ceiling. And if this is comfortable, you might like to play around and explore those fingers starting to wrap around the outer hip. Maybe they tuck into the top of the thigh. Half bind. And undo your half bind. Lift the left arm up into the air. Start to lift the torso up, straightening out the legs and pointing the toes towards the long side of the mat. Find your wide straddle. Bringing the hands to the hips, lift up through the crown of the head, forward fold. Hinging at the hips, allow the chest to lead here. Hands can come down onto the ground, but if you still like to explore some binds, feel free to find that toe hold again with the pistol grip or the first and second fingers wrapping around the big toe. If that's not there for you, feel free to also just grab any part of the leg or keep the hands down on the floor for stability. Forward fold here. A little bend in the knees is always okay. And begin to rise on up to halfway lift and release your bind if you've taken it. And rising on up, turn those toes back to the front of the mat. Coming into warrior one again, or high crescent lunge, back heel up in the air. We're gonna move into our Garudasana pose or eagle pose. So starting to bring weight into the front foot, lift the left knee up and over, crossing the knees here, maybe the top of the foot hooks around the calf. If this feels unstable for you, you're more than welcome to just cross the ankles. So finding the bind with the legs, left knee over right. You can swoop the right elbow underneath the left elbow, find a hug, or find Garudasana arms. Same like we did in the reclined position. You can explore squatting down further. And release, step the left foot back. Find that high crescent lunge one more time. And high plank vinyasa. Let's do the other side. Left foot forward, find warrior one, back heel down, hips facing forward. Catching your breath, find humble warrior. Maybe you take the opposite interlace. Draw the fists down, open the chest, arms are rotating outwards. On the next exhale, hinge at the hips, fold, bringing the left shoulder towards the left knee. Hands can lift up behind. Pressing through the front foot, begin to raise the torso on up. Undo your bind, lift up the arms, open up to warrior two, left hand forward. Readjusting the feet if you need to. Shoulders over the hips here. Fingers stretching front and back. Find side angle, lifting the right arm up into the air. Left elbow can come down to the top of the thigh. If you have a block, you can place the hand down onto the block on the inside of the foot, or even bring your hand to the inside of your foot. So finding your variation of side angle. We're going to explore a half bind here. Top hand, we're going to flip the palm so it faces behind us. Bending the elbow, allow the top of your hand to rest on the lower back. Half bind. And then option to explore that a bit further. Maybe the fingers find the opposite hip and tuck into the top thigh. Opening up the top shoulder, chest tracking towards the roof. And you can undo that half bind, lift up the arm again. Press into the front foot, lift up the torso, straighten the legs, find your wide-legged forward fold. Toes pointing to the long side of the mat. Bring the hands to the chest, or to the hips. Lift through the crown of the head, forward fold. Hands can come down to the center of the mat. Allow the crown of the head to fall forward. Find a halfway lift. Place the right hand down in the center of the mat. Twist open to the left side, lifting the left arm up in the air. And return back to center. Place the left hand firmly down onto the ground. Peel the right arm up, finding a twist to the right. And back to center. Halfway lift, and then raise on up with ease and gentleness. Turn the toes back to the front of the mat. Find your high crescent lunge. Back heel rises up. You can bring the hands to the hips. We're going to find our eagle pose. Shift the weight into the front foot. Lift the right knee up into the air. Option to cross knees or cross ankles. I'm going to go for crossing knees. And you may tuck the top of the foot behind the calf. That feels good. You can swoop the left elbow underneath the right elbow. Find Garudasana arms, lifting up the elbows up, forearms away from the face, and finding a further squat if you'd like to explore that. Holding here for a breath or two. And then undoing that bind, step the right foot back behind, stretch it out with one more high crescent lunge, and exhale, down. Step back to your high plank, one more vinyasa, and coming back into child's pose, knees out wider than the hips, big toes touching, stretching out the spine here, taking a moment to rest. Winding down our practice. Gonna ease up into a seat just so we can bring the legs out in front. So extending the legs out behind us. We're gonna find a variation of fish pose. Finding a little bit of a chest opener here. So bringing the hands behind, we're going to rest the elbows right underneath the shoulders. Propping ourselves up with the forearms, elbows planted right underneath the shoulders. And you can place the hands underneath the bum. So I'm sort of sitting on the top of my hands here for a bit of a bind. Lifting up through the chest here. Gaze can come on over if that's comfortable. You can sort of scoot the heels down a bit further, lengthening out the pose. And if that's not comfortable, feel free to keep the chin tucked into the chest, opening up, widening the collarbones. And removing the hands from underneath. Gently ease your way back on down to the mat. Going into your Shavasana or taking any other last movements here. You may like to come into a twist or two. If you do take a twist option, you might like to pull the tail, just grabbing a hold of the heel behind you for a bind. Or just allowing the whole body to rest for a moment as we seal our practice. So returning into that deep, steady breath. Finding a little peace and stillness here. Feel free to stay in your Shavasana for as long as you need. But I will say goodbye to you for now. Thank you for allowing me to lead you through this practice. Namaste.